No one likes to get pulled over, but sometimes it has to happen. You're speeding, driving erratically, have a busted taillight. These are safety issues. Of course, sometimes you just get pulled over for the dumbest reasons imaginable. I'm Mike with List 25, and these are 25 dumb reasons people have been pulled over. #25. Suspicious air freshener. In 2018, cops pulled over 2 men and found a loaded rifle along with 2 handguns. And while those guns may not have been legal, the cop never saw them, and the car wasn't doing anything suspicious to merit being pulled over, according to the driver. So, what was the cop's excuse? Well, the officer said that the tree-shaped air freshener hanging in the window of the car was the reason. The driver tried to argue in court that this was an unjust stop, but the court sided with the police officer. Well, the reason? It's unlawful to obstruct your view through the windshield, and the little tree-shaped air freshener was a violation. #24. The kindergarten driver. You can get your driver's license when you're pretty young in some parts of the world, but maybe not when you're this young. A driver in California on his way to buy a Lamborghini was pulled over for driving erratically under the assumption he might be drunk, but he wasn't. He was just, 5 years old. The kid was doing 30 down the freeway and an officer pulled him over. He'd been at home when his parents were at work with a sibling doing a pretty poor job of babysitting. He was also mad at his mom for not buying a Lambo, so, he decided to go get his own. #23. The DIY car. Cops in Canada had to pull over a car after a driver who tried his hand at home auto repair raised their suspicion that his vehicle was unsafe. The car looked to be bound almost entirely with duct tape, which to the cops looked like it might be the only thing even holding the car together. Both the rear windshield and one of the passenger windows was gone, replaced with black tape instead. The driver said that he was on his way to sell the car for $1, like how much, but was cited for being unsafe as well as not having insurance or a license. Yeah, so I'm realizing dumb is going to be both the drivers and the police in all of these. It's a mix. #22. Corpse carpooling. The HOV, or high occupancy vehicle lane, is reserved for those who have at least 2 people in the vehicle to encourage carpooling. Some single drivers have been known to try to take advantage of this with props and dummies that look like people. But a hearse near Las Vegas was pulled over for using the lane, despite his insistence that the corpse in the back of the car made it count as having a passenger. For future reference, a corpse doesn't count. #21. The lap goat. No doubt you've seen someone driving with a dog in the car that seems like it's a little unsafe, maybe even popping its head out the driver window. That can actually get you pulled over for reckless driving if you're caught. But at least it's a sight we're used to. A New Hampshire driver was pulled over for really just throwing a ton of bad decisions out on her drive in 2019. She was using a cell phone, driving without a license, and carrying a baby goat on her lap, because why not? Cops gave her a citation and a warning? Whoa! 20. Hand-drawn plates. The license plate on your car needs to be clearly displayed on the back, and in some jurisdictions, the front of the vehicle as well. Part of what's implied by that is that your actual license plate is on display, not a hand-drawn one. A man in Kentucky learned that you need to have the real deal on display when cops spotted his homemade plates on display. Unsurprisingly, the driver was also on a suspended license and had no insurance. Yeah, I'm not shocked. 19. Skitching violations. If you're from a northern climate, you'll likely be accustomed to driving in the snow. Some drivers love it, and others loathe it. Some see it as an opportunity to have a good time and are more than happy to engage in some skitching. That's when you drive and tow someone behind you on skis or a snowboard. And while is it skitching? Yeah. We don't have that in Florida, shockingly. And while it may be super fun, cops still hate it and will pull you over for doing it, and it happens probably a few times every winter, including once right in front of news cameras in Michigan. 18. The driving tree. Let's say you lose control of your car and hit a tree. What happens next? Do you call the cops, insurance company, the tow truck? Or maybe you're like this lady in Illinois who cops had to pull over because she ran into a 15-foot tree, uprooted it, and kept driving with it stuck in the grill of her car. The airbags had deployed and the driver was drunk. Oh, but none of that stopped her from continuing on her way until the cops pulled her over. 17. Look out, Radioactive Man! Of all the reasons to have a cop stop you, you won't find many that are weirder than this one. A firefighter was pulled over on his way to work, but he couldn't imagine what he'd done wrong. When he asked the officer that pulled him over, he got the last reason he would expect. He set off a radiation detector in the cop's cruiser. Turns out the firefighter had just been to the doctor to take a cardiology stress test, and that involved them dosing him with a radioactive marker for a blood test. It was a low dose, but not low enough to get past a police scan. 16. Toy Story DUI. Did you ever have one of those cool battery-operated little cars when you were a kid? The kind you could really sit in. Oh, I did this. It's these. The kind you can really sit in and drive, Power Wheels. I didn't, and I'm sad now. Well, a woman in Delaware inadvertently got herself out of a DUI when she was pulled over for driving a toy truck down the road because it didn't qualify as a motor vehicle, even though she was quite drunk. Instead, she just got a citation for public intoxication. 15. Leaving a stench trail. Try to imagine how awful this situation must have been to merit getting pulled over. A truck in Canada was stopped because the rear was hanging low on the axle and dripping liquid down the road that smelled terrible. The cause? Well, the truck was completely overloaded with sewage and it was leaking out. 14. Touchscreen or laptop. If you've never seen the interior of a Tesla Model 3 before, it could take you by a little surprise upon first viewing. The usual assortment of dials and buttons that vehicles have is not present in a Tesla, but you do have a very large touchscreen right there to control everything. A cop unfamiliar with the Tesla Model 3 layout pulled over a driver under the assumption that the man had just stuck a laptop to his dashboard. He tried to get him to remove it until he finally figured out what he was looking at and let the driver go. 13. Swinging from the roof. Not everything fits on top of a car no matter how much you try to make it fit. Or at least not in a street legal way. A New Zealand driver was pulled over for trying to transport a swing set on top of a minivan. Uh-oh. The set completely straddled the vehicle with the support poles hanging over each side, extending out several feet. Cops had to escort the vehicle the rest of the way on its journey. That is not where I thought that was going. I thought someone was going to be swinging. 12. Bumper car commute. Just because you can drive a thing on the road doesn't mean you should, or that the cops will even allow it. A woman in China was pulled over driving a small pink bumper car. Apparently she runs a business with bumper car rentals, but she keeps them at home, so she drives them to work every day, and cops never noticed before. How? 11. Driving by candlelight. Good idea. Having lights on your bicycle. Bad idea. The light's provided by flames. That's an Animaniacs reference. I love it. A cyclist in the Netherlands apparently wanted to be visible but didn't know how to do it in a non-Stone Age way. He was pulled over when the tea lights he placed on his bike, those tiny little candles your grandma uses, blew out in the wind. The most bizarre? He relit the candles, so the cops let him go. 10. Moped Mommy. If you're a new mom and you're out with your baby, there's a good chance you'll need to stop to feed the child at some point. That's pretty common these days, and nearly everyone's aware it happens. No big deal. But there's such a thing as time and place, and breastfeeding your baby while driving a moped is neither the time nor the place. A mom in China was pulled over for doing just that, one hand holding her 18-month-old child and the other on the handlebar as she weaved through traffic. Police threatened to take the vehicle away if she did it again. 9. The lunchtime pullover. You hear about police abusing their authority sometimes, and that's really where this story falls. An off-duty sheriff's lieutenant in Illinois, who was later disciplined for his actions, pulled over a school bus in 2014. Not because the driver had committed any violations, but because the cop's son was on the bus, and he forgot his lunch for school. The cop was in an unmarked Dodge Charger and used his lights to stop the bus in a place that wasn't even in his jurisdiction had he been on duty. 8. The Armless Man. People with physical disabilities often find unique ways to manage simple tasks that the rest of us just take for granted. And driving is one of those tasks. Imagine, for instance, trying to drive when you have no arms. It can be done, but it's certainly not easy, and there are some concerns. Cops in Canada had concerns in 2013 when they saw an armless man behind the wheel, but it wasn't what you think. He wasn't wearing his seatbelt. Of course, he can't really wear a seatbelt either because he has no arms, but they, didn't figure that out until later. 7. The bee car. Have you ever seen someone panic when a bee flies by outside? It can get pretty goofy. But hey, maybe they're allergic. Most of us don't want bees buzzing around at the best of times, allergies or not. So try to imagine being in a car with a bee, only that the bee isn't alone and has a few thousand friends with him, and you're all sealed in together. I'm not in here with you, you're in here with me. Cops pulled over a Montana driver when they saw his car was full of thousands of bees just flying around loose. They got a call that a driver was all over the road, and when they found him, he had 5 hives in the car that he was trying to transport. Oh, it was his own fault. He said that it was no big deal though because they were just harmless Russian honeybees. Still can't see through them, so even if they're not stinging you, buddy. 6. Driverless Drive. San Francisco cops pulled over a car for driving with no headlights on at night. Well, so far, pretty normal. The problem with this stop was that this was a car from Cruise, and their cars are driverless. It was pulled over because they're designed to respond to sirens, but the headlight issue was human error, so the car didn't understand the issue. It drove away and was pulled over again. 5. Rooftop Pool. In a pinch, you can transport large items on the roof of a car, provided they're not too big and you have the ability to secure those items. They even sell luggage racks you can install on the roof to help out. So the idea isn't too crazy. But generally speaking, you want to transport something like, a Christmas tree or a mattress up there, and not, an inflatable pool full of children. An Illinois woman was pulled over in 2019 for driving with an inflatable pool on the roof with her 2 daughters inside of it. Oh, decide for yourself if it's more or less bizarre that the pool had no water in it. The woman had just inflating it and was using the kids to hold it down. So it wouldn't fly away on their drive home. It didn't even have one just to inflate it and put it in the trunk. What the hell are you thinking? Oh my God. 4. Thomas the Tank mods. Every so often you'll be driving down the street and pass someone in their Batmobile, the Mystery Machine, or some other famous, albeit fictional car, and it's kind of cool. Maybe you can snap a pic and post it on Instagram, or the gram, as kids are saying these days. I'm pretty sure they're just saying Insta. I don't know. Let me know what you kids are saying these days. God, I'm old now. But not everyone likes those cars that are tweaked to look like famous vehicles, and that includes cops. A driver in the UK had been inspired by Thomas the Tank Engine and gave his old BMW an overhaul to resemble the cartoon train engine, complete with a massive steel drum worked into the hood at the front of the car. Cops pulled it over under suspicion that the mods were not legal and potentially dangerous. 3. George Clooney's sense of humor. George Clooney has long been rumored to be a bit of a joker on the set of movies, which must be a lot of fun almost 99% of the time. But sometimes he goes a little overboard, and that's what happened to Brad Pitt once on the set of Ocean's 11. Just for fun, Clooney found a bumper sticker shaped like a pot leaf and stuck it to the back of Pitt's car, where he figured the other actor wouldn't notice it after work. The sticker also said, F cops. His thinking was that there was no way the car wouldn't get pulled over. And he was right. Cops pulled over Pitt on his way home. 2. Headlamp Headlights. Of all the features of a car, one we take for granted all the time is the headlights. They're incredibly important, but obviously no one is excited to have them as they are to have a huge, dash display or lane correction technology or anything really. But if you lose your lights, you'll certainly appreciate them more. The thing is, you need to get them fixed too. One driver in Canada tried to improvise when his headlights burned out by instead just strapping an LED headlamp to his melon and driving that way. Oh, not to the car, to his head. Even better, he was speeding at the time. Must have been one heck of a headlamp. 1. Playing the Air Bagpipes. Everyone gets caught up in their own music now and then, and even the best of us can sometimes belt out the chorus of our favorite tune when stuck in traffic, just let it go. If the music really moves you, you might even hit a drum solo on the steering wheel. But one driver in New Zealand had to be pulled over when cops saw him channeling his inner Scotsman by playing the Air Bagpipes behind the wheel. Much like texting, making a sandwich, or trying to do your nails, air piping is a distraction behind the wheel that could lead to an accident. What happens if his airbag deploys? So, have you ever been pulled over? If so, what was the dumbest reason you were on either the cop's end or your end? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new content, because, you know, maybe in the future, we'll be doing more than 3 a week. Who knows? Also, check out our shorts, join our Discord, and if you can, become a member. Think about helping support the channel so we can keep bringing these awesome videos to you. Thank you guys so much. I love you all, and as always, I'll see you next time. Enjoying our lists? Be sure to click that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Share them with your friends and help us consistently conciliate curiosity. And if you want even more lists, check out these videos here or just head to our website at list25.com.